43rd independence celebrated by churches. MP pushing for district split. And Nipa still in darkness.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Monday's news. With Port Moresby celebrating independence in different venues around the city on Sunday, patriotic church members from a local Catholic parish in the Archdiocese of Port Moresby hosted their own independence celebration at their church grounds, uniting together for God and country.
Papua New Guinea has a diverse culture. But one thing that brings together the people of this nation is the Christian faith. Papua New Guinea's 43rd independence fell on Sunday, 16th September. As a Christian country, most Papua New Guineans celebrated by going to church. The Catholic congregation of the Mary Queen of the Pacific Parish, North Waigani, celebrated Mass in the morning and with church members dressed in PNG colors commemorating the 43rd independence. The theme of the celebrations was One People, One Nation, God Bless Papua New Guinea. Parish priest Robert Sabalo, who is from the Philippines and part of the Mission Society of the Philippines, has been in the country for a while, and during his sermon encouraged them as citizens of Papua New Guinea to take pride in their country and to abide by the laws of this nation. The celebrations went on after Mass in the church grounds, with the parish's 8 basic Christian communities from the North Waigani area performing traditional song items. They also sang songs of PNG independence and contemporary dances, games and quizzes based on PNG's independence were part of the activities. The activities kept the church community together during the Independence Day. Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
Papua New Guinea's 43rd independence was not only celebrated here in Papua New Guinea. From Australia to Asia and all around the world, Papua New Guineans celebrated turning another year older yesterday with friends and family.
The day was a special day for Papua New Guineans overseas because it was the only day they all came together to celebrate the true spirit of unity. For resident in Cairns, Australia, resident Emma Touris says she didn't realize that there were a lot of Papua New Guineans living and working in Cairns. The event brought them all together to mingle and share PNG's favorite nut, betel nut, with each other. Stalls were set up with PNG artifacts, the Mary Blouse, balloons, jewelries and traditional PNG food were for sale. The day was a memorable and fun day for Emma, her husband Brian, and kids Brendan, Maya, Neville, and Mason from Yalibu in the Southern Highlands province. Emma said even though the country is going through some tough economic times, the patriotism, enthusiasm, and positive spirit of the people of Papua New Guinea will never die, and she thinks everyone who attended the independence ceremony in Australia or even in PNG will feel the same way. Michelle Stephen, National EMTV News.
A private investigator in Port Moresby is recovering after he was badly assaulted by who he claims were drunken policemen who were in civilian clothing at the time of the assault. 45-year-old Turi Kurwa from Eastern Highlands Province says he was travelling home with his wife when he was confronted by the group of policemen at Morata, about 100 meters away from his home. After a few questions, he was ordered to drive back to Waigani police station for further questioning. However, when he asked if the police could escort him back, he was punched in the right eye and dragged out of his vehicle. That was when the beating started.
Kurwai was with his wife Michelle when they were confronted by police officers last Friday between 10 and 11 p.m. He recalls that the beatings continued inside the Waigani police station cells for at least 30 minutes.
And that's when the punches came from more than 4 to 7 policemen, all in civilian. I was punched, I was kicked to the ground and then lifted up, thrown into the back of the white fifth element. While in the back of the fifth element, that's when the kicking and the punching got severe. And so I struggled. I jumped out again, and that's when they again kicked and punched, and they threw me back into the vehicle. And with them all sitting on top of me, with all the boots kicking me in the face, in my back, in my arm, all over me, they took me up to the police station.
It was until he felt that he could not take the beatings anymore, and that was when he fought back. His wife, who witnessed the beatings, pleaded for them to stop, but says she was told she could be sexually assaulted if she continued her plea. In fear of her safety, she was put in custody with her husband, and they were held in the cells for at least 24 hours before a formal arrest was made.
She had not committed any offense. They looked her up as well as me in the cell. And 5 o'clock, somebody else came, and family has to come. They started putting pressure, and 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they came and drafted up a charge for driving under the influence of liquor and resisting police arrest.
Mr. Kuruwai is a former police officer. He now runs his private investigative and consultancy business. He was the investigator who provided evidence in court that led to the dismissal of the case involving 6 mobile squad officers who were charged for armed robbery in 2016. He is elected the second-in-command of the NCD Metropolitan and was able to identify few of the officers involved.
I've communicated with Terry Apollos. I have already escalated my complaint to the respective police hierarchy. I am putting together my statement, my medical reports, my complaints. I'll have my day in court. I'll defend my charges, and I will take on the policeman.
Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
In the Central Province, the large land mass and growing population of Kairuku-Hiri district is a struggle for the district authority to deliver goods and services to its people. Kairuku-Hiri MP Peter Isoamo says with funding cuts to budgets, the opportunity to maximize services is limited. Mr. Isoamo expressed these concerns while attending to 2 separate events during the 43rd independence celebrations in the district.
The Kairuku-Hiri MP attended a special initiation ceremony with the Koyari people in the first part of the day. Despite the threats of showers, the program went ahead with the MP being initiated by Koyari chiefs. The initiation welcomes MP Isoamo to be a chief in the Koyari chieftaincy system. Isoamo's message was clear: work together for the better.
And I urge all Koyaris today to stand united and let's focus. Let's focus on the future for betterment of Koyari tribe.
Dancing, string band performances and live band followed through the afternoon as the Koyari people celebrated independence. The afternoon part of the day saw the MP and his delegation go by road to Berena Station for the District Independence Festival. On arrival, Isoamo witnessed the bike race held by youth from the district. Berena Station was packed to capacity as celebrations saw dancing and games being played with the motto of changing mindsets of youth and the community. In his address to the people, the local MP expressed the effort by his administration and central provincial government to split the district.
But the electorate as it is, for me, I am comfortable politically. But practically, for service delivery, it's just impractical. It's very hard for one member to serve the masses of population in a vast electorate like Kairuku-Hiri.
The festival ended with presentations to winning teams and individuals. Jacob Alva Jr., National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We go for our first break now, but stay tuned. We have more of the day's other stories still ahead. Welcome back to the news. Back to Port Moresby now. The organisation, logistics and administration issues will be eased for the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands following the opening of their new building today.
There are 2.2 million Catholics in Papua New Guinea and there are 123,000 in the Solomon Islands. Those people's concerns are the Catholic Bishop Conference's agenda in Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. The Bishops' Conference, established in 1952, now has a new building in place after 52 years. It was opened today by Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, Cardinal John Ribat, Bishop Rokus Tatamai, President of the Bishops' Conference, and Apostolic Nuncio, Archbishop Kurian Vayalunkal. Among the guests and other clergymen, bishops and nuns was Founding Father Grand Chief Sir Michael Sumare with his wife Lady Veronica. The new building has an A wing and B wing. Building A has 2 floors, a conference room and 25 workstations and living rooms. Building B has 15 workstations, 2 flats and a space for a recording studio with the option of a future radio or TV station. President of the conference, Bishop Rokus Tatamai, says the building is to serve the people and the money spent will help improve their work in the 2 countries.
Though this building may look very impressive and maybe beyond our imagination, I think the bottom line is this building only makes sense to us if it serves our people.
Father Victor Roach, General Secretary of the CBC, says the building itself cost 12.22 million. Which the Prime Minister's Department put in 3 million on behalf of the state.
Other leaders also and generous donations made up to 1.22 million, and Missio Aachen, which is represented by Mr. Michael Koo, gave 1.08 million, and so we received a donation of total of 6.1 million.
He added that the building took 13 months to build will ease some of the administrative issues.
One more reason why we put up the new CBC building. So far, when bishops came for the Central Committee, Finance Board or any of the Commission meetings, they stayed in the SVD House, Capuchin House, Franciscan House, Montfort House or Emmaus Conference Center in the different parts of Port Moresby. Our driver had to go each morning to pick them up and drop them off in the evenings when the meetings were held. Now the bishops have a place to stay here.
Peter O'Neill commended the work of the CBC as he recalled an instance where he witnessed the presence of the bishops in rural Papua New Guinea where government services were lacking.
And the bishops right throughout the country and of course in Solomon Islands play a very important role. Not so long ago, I met Bishop Rokus on his final visit in Golala, remote Golala, a month or so back, saying goodbye to our friends in Golala before he took up his new posting in New Island. I know he's going to a lovely spot there, but now our friends in Golala certainly will miss him. But this is an important work that the church is doing in some very challenging environment, very remote areas right around the country where sometimes government's presence is lacking.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
Grand Chief Sir Michael Sumare today congratulated the church and the government for making a success of this country for the last 43 years. Speaking at the opening of a new building for the Catholic Bishops' Conference, he said churches have contributed so much in bringing much-needed services to the most remote parts of the country.
The Founding Father was present at the Catholic Bishops' Conference to witness the opening of a new building. He was very pleased with the work the Catholic Church and other Christian churches have done to the development of the country. He said in places where government services cannot reach, churches are there to provide the much-needed services.
All Christian churches have made a great contribution in education and health and training of Papua New Guineans. And this is something which is marvelous, a good example of a country can do. Getting people together, united, and stand on their feet and make sure things are done, lives of people are protected, ensure that faith goes on as they came for the purpose.
the Grand Chief said everything in the country is done through people's tireless effort, time and commitment. And he was pleased that the Catholic Church has built something that the church leaders can sit and plan to bring more development to the church and the country as a whole. He also thanked the Prime Minister and the government who have contributed and supported the CBC to see this project a success.
And thank you, Prime Minister, for making government contribution. All essential services that are built by people's efforts, everything that we do in this country, it's a self-sacrifice, dedication and commitment. And the Church, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea, Solomon Island, have made an effort, contribution, and it's a great contribution.
The founding father encouraged the churches in the country to work in unity to see this country moving forward. The new building for the Catholic Bishops' Conference was officially opened by the Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
The East New Britain Provincial Government has issued a strong warning to illegal loggers operating in the province to make themselves known or they will be shipped out. East New Britain Governor Naki Kuskonga says a thorough check will be carried out and those found illegally operating will be the first to go. Konga's comments come following concerns of landowners being exploited in rural parts of East New Britain.
Since taking office about a year ago, the East New Britain Governor has moved on with thorough checks on illegal logging and land grabbing, the issues that have been existing in the province in the last 10 years. While the province has opened its doors to foreign investors, it wants them to follow the rules and regulations that have been set in place, the Governor says.
Was that I want good investors to come in. Cowboy investors, I don't want them. Well, we have got the provincial government here, and like what he has highlighted with the logging, this provincial government has taken it on board that we have terminated 2 logging companies.
Unofficial estimates suggest that land in the province is being used up mostly by oil palm development and logging. Much of the blame has been laid against numerous land reforms, such as the Special Agriculture Business Lease or SABL, that have put some foreign investors at a greater advantage over traditional landowners.
So I appeal to them, if they have any problem, they come and sit down with us. On land grabbing especially, I will fight. This government will fight its best to ensure that people are not being exploited with their resources, and particularly land.
But the problem of land grabbing is further fueled by the recently introduced Incorporated Landowner Group or ILG. While the ILG concept tries to assist landowners protect their land, it is also breaking them. Arguments over land ownership have created controversies over who is the rightful custodian that has the authority to invite foreign investors to develop their customary land.
I see it as another way forward to grab our land. So I am appealing to those companies who are involved with incorporating ILG, picking up from the street of Kokopo, boys who don't live in the rural areas, to come and form this ILG, incorporate it, register it, and then they are the one picking up the money, but not the bulk population in the. That's what we have said. That is why the provincial government does not have no choice, but has stopped to it.
In many places in the country, illegal logging and land grabbing is continuing. Many investors operating mostly in the rural areas are facing threats of having their licenses cancelled, but that will have to go through the courts, and while the court cases drag on, more trees keeps falling and more landowners are losing their land. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
A group of young elites from the Kou area of Mbongo in Southern Highlands Province have registered an association to bring development to their village. Their association, Warena Pupai Association, is named after their tribe. It was officially launched on Friday by Northern Governor Gary Jufa.
Most of these elites are working and living in Port Moresby. They realized that after 43 years and government services haven't reached their community, they have a church-run elementary school. They need an upper primary school, a health center, and other basic services in the village.
Some papa mama only come out long very neglected backgrounds, plenty in the work. So picnic go back to school fee and university nowadays, and you're looking at about 6,000 to 10,000 kinalo one play year.
Northern Governor Gary Jufa was in Yalabu for the event as part of his community outreach program to brief the people of Papua New Guinea on how or where the country is heading towards politically and economically. Governor Jufa's childhood was also spent in Yalabu, and he still feels part of them. Jufa pledged his support to help the community and the association build a primary school.
When development must come up, you must talk about sustainable development. Sustainable development and one kind development will by thinking law environment. So this activity by no bugger up in Wara.
Governor Jufa's independence message to the core community was to value their land, economy and future for the next generation to benefit from.
So suppose you mean like him or picking up you may sit down inside the house blow you must own him future blow you may. Own him economy blow you may. Then by you may design in future blow you may.
The association will partner with development agencies to deliver service to the community that can complement government services. It will also drive development for the community, especially helping parents to pay for their children's school fee.
The association launched him, maybe because 10 years ago. 10 years ago, me believe was him. One place educated society, one place educated village. Place must have all right. Because education is the only key, me blagat.
The association is spearheaded by youths, but will have equal representations of the community. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
With National EMTV News this Monday, we'll have more after these messages. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, and a major cleanup is underway across southern China after one of the most powerful storms on record. Typhoon Mangkhut has hit cities west of China after lashing Hong Kong yesterday.
There was widespread flooding, and there's just in general debris across a lot of the island. I'm on Hong Kong Island, where it's a little bit more built up than other areas of Hong Kong, and even then there's advertising poster boards and metal and wood and trees just sprayed everywhere. So it's causing a lot of issues on transport at the moment. It's a rush hour and people should be heading to work. Schools are closed, but work is still now on. So people are just trying to make it in, and it's not all of the MTR, which is the train system, and buses and all transport are running at full pace.
You mentioned the chaos that, and we're seeing it now, some live pictures in Hong Kong of those fallen trees, and you mentioned advertising metal structures down. What was it actually like during the moment that the typhoon hit?
Well, in the morning, I think everyone was kind of sceptical of how strong it would be. We were warned that this could be the worst in history, but people in Hong Kong are pretty used to typhoons. And then at about 11 a.m., something just switched, and the wind started coming in. The wind speeds are up to 195 kilometres an hour. And on Hong Kong Island, it sounded like a freight train was just running down these almost wind tunnels that were created. If you were on the outlying areas, especially down at the beach, there was warnings of waves up to 14 metres high, and there was a lot of video obviously floating about from yesterday. So I'm sure a lot of people have seen that a crane fell down from a high-rise building. We had bamboo scaffolding being ripped off. It was, for people who've been here for a long time, are saying it was the worst they've ever seen.
You mentioned there that people were sceptical ahead of that moment where it all just switched. Did people in Hong Kong heed the warnings to stay indoors and to just see it out?
I think so. I think people prepared because the authorities were pushing this line so much, and that's not you. People normally know if it gets to a T10, which is the highest possible category, that it's going to be bad, but people will just usually stay inside, and that's about it. Our buildings are pretty strong here, except in the day leading up to it, we saw lots of windows being taped and people taking, I guess, a little more precautions than usual. And normally when it hits T8, T10, there's a bit of happiness because it means people don't have to go to work, and so people are out drinking and things. But this time there was none of that. I think there was an eerie sense, but people weren't sure, and the storm definitely delivered.
You mentioned the disruption to commuters going about their days today. Hong Kong International Airport was closed yesterday, throwing thousands of people's travel plans into chaos. What's happening right now? Is it back open?
Yes, it's back open, but they suspect that it will take a few days to clear the backlog. Hong Kong's a very busy airport, and 900 flights were cancelled and affected yesterday. And it's not just Hong Kong, the whole the southern Chinese region, especially in the Guangdong region, Shenzhen, a lot of flights were disrupted. So if you're flying through Hong Kong, definitely expect some delays at the moment.
You mentioned the Guangdong province. This typhoon has moved through now into that area of China, which is populated with tens of millions of people. What sort of devastation is it causing there?
Well, it made landfall about 5 p.m. yesterday, and 2 people have died. They're the only casualties in the southern China, Hong Kong, Macau region. But the entire Pearl River Delta area was on high alert. People in Zhuhai, which is right next to Macau, there was a widespread shutdown of the streets. Everyone was told that they had to be inside. The typhoon actually went across 2 nuclear power plants, and there were fears of what could happen, but there have been no incidents reported there.
To Syria now, and Idlib province remains a nightmare for civilians caught in Syria's civil war. CNN has this story of one man doing all he can to protect his family.
There are so many ways to die in Idlib, but only the most primitive methods for survival. Hudayfa Shahad is preparing for a regime onslaught in Idlib. This makeshift shelter may be the difference between life or death for his family.
We have moved some supplies, food and water, in case of an emergency, God forbid, because Russia is striking with highly explosive bombs that houses cannot withstand. God willing, the cave will protect us from that.
The regime's offensive to recapture the last major rebel stronghold hasn't officially started yet. But bombs have already been raining down on southern Idlib. Shahad hopes the cave would shelter his family from the worst of the conventional weapons. But in Syria, even a breath of fresh air is an uncertainty.
We made the gas masks to protect our children, God forbid, if a chemical attack happens. To protect their eyes and ears. It's the least we can do.
Upstairs in their living room, preparing for the worst is all they can do. Residents here fear the possibility of another chemical attack. Following instructions he found online, Shahad uses what he can find. Colorful paper cups, cotton, bandages, charcoal and plastic bags to create his family's survival kit, these improvised gas masks. Shahad walks his children down into the darkness to inspect their underground hideaway. With nowhere left to run when the battle begins, this could be their only sanctuary.
To Australia now, and there's a renewed push for pill testing in Australia following the death of 2 young people at a music festival in Sydney. But the state's premier has spoken out forcefully against the idea, instead vowing to shut the festival down.
The promotion for Sydney's DIFCON festival, now an eerie backdrop to tragedy. Tomorrow's running out for 2 Australians, 23-year-old Sydney man Joseph Pham dying from a suspected drug overdose, as did a 21-year-old woman. 3 others are in a critical condition, with 15 people in all hospitalised for drug-related issues. Around 700 were treated on site.
It was a very chaotic scene. It was quite a horrendous scene.
It's prompted one paper over here to label the festival the Death Dance. These are the 3rd and 4th suspected drug-related fatalities at DIFCON in the last 5 years.
We had over 180 police at that venue. We do everything we possibly can to make these events safe. What we can't do is be in people's heads, be in people's decision-making processes when they decide to take illicit drugs.
The latest casualties prompting the state's premier to make a firm vow.
Absolutely tragic. I never want to see this event held in Sydney or New South Wales ever again. We will do everything we can to shut this down.
We have the evidence. Shutting down the festivals, getting tough on drugs, telling kids to just say no doesn't work.
Instead, there are renewed calls for pill testing at festivals, something that's only been trialled in Australia once, but is common in Europe.
The outcome is actually that more people make better decisions, more people discard their drugs.
There's been a push on social media too, including by the likes of popular local band Peking Duck, who called the Premier out of touch, saying testing's proven to save lives.
There is no such thing as a safe drug. Anyone who advocates pill testing is giving the green light to drugs. That is absolutely unacceptable.
Festival organisers say they have a zero-tolerance policy on drug use and are now working with the authorities.
Two major New Zealand supermarket companies have stopped distribution of Australian strawberries after needles were found in the fruits.
There have been 9 confirmed cases in Australia and 1 consumer's been hospitalised. Australian police have issued a reward of more than $100,000 for information amid concerns copycats are responsible for the latest incidents. Our Ministry for Primary Industry says it's confident none of the contaminated strawberries have made their way to New Zealand. And Queensland police confirmed a short time ago they're now investigating an incident involving, quote, a metal object in a banana.
In this week's episode of Australian Story, ABC goes behind the scenes of Australia's most successful children's group. It shows the extraordinary rise of Emma Watkins, the first female Wiggle.
Being a Wiggle is such a... you can't really put it into a schedule.
We do more shows than any group I know. And it's not, you know, acoustic guitar with a balloon on a stick. This is a full-on show.
I knew that when Emma was on tour in Canada last year, her strength was failing and she was tiring very easily.
I noticed that she was getting very thin and very ill.
I started to feel like all the wheels were falling off, and I didn't really know if it was just my health or, you know, if it was my relationships.
It's not easy spending that much time together with the pressure of work too, and I think it has gone through ups and downs.
I think people had recognised that maybe dynamically things had changed between us. The show really must go on. That really has been the forefront of our mind the whole time.
Back home now, and Nipa Kutubu district held a flag-raising ceremony at the district headquarters in Nipa Station on the morning of Independence Day. The district government organised sport activities across the 5 local level government areas on Thursday and ending on Saturday, with the flag raising on Sunday to commemorate independence celebrations. But the message of taking the initiative of developing the district was directed to the youth and for everyone to change their attitude of destroying government property.
While Nipa Station was coloured with red, gold, black and white, the flag-raising ceremony was led by students from Nipa Primary, commemorating the first time the PNG flag was raised in the district in 1975 on September 16th at Nipa Primary School.
Years before you are free, in South Africa, Nelson Mandela had been to prison for 27 years before and free Mulman Mary Blongen. Papua New Guinea is made up of so many nations, 700 plus nations, but we can manage to stay together for 42 years, which is, B plus something in Sedlong country belong Yumi. No country in the world Holim, different cultures, different nations together for that long.
The member for Nipa Kutubu and Deputy Speaker Jeffrey Komal was unable to attend the celebrations, and his speech was read by District Planner Robin Tuna.
So thank every man and woman who have contributed in their own ways to progress Nipa Kutubu electorate as to where we are today. Most importantly, I thank the churches for partnering with the government to save our people through education, health, agriculture, social works, and most importantly, for preaching the word of God for human salvation.
In his speech, he urged the young people of Nipa to raise up to the challenge and develop the district.
A challenge with you all with this question. How would you like to see Nipa Kutubu after 43 years? And what will you as an individual do to attain this dream? I will do my part as a leader, and you do your part as a Nipa man and woman to live the dream. Dream the dream and live the dream. Happy 43rd anniversary, and God bless you all. This is the message from Honorable Jeffrey Komal.
Unfortunately, even with the district plan to develop the district by investing in health and education, the district is plagued with an attitude problem amongst the youth. Date Xerox Kari, National, EMTV News, Nipa.
This is Monday's news. We'll have some sporting updates in Trukai Sports after these messages. See you then.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with hockey, and Port Moresby defeated Lae in the grand final in the women's division of the national championships. An exhausting encounter between both sides saw them enter an 8-second penalty shootout at the end of normal play.
Lae were the first to post points, scoring early and maintaining a 1-0 lead throughout the match. But Pom was not going to bow out that easily, scoring 5 minutes before full-time, levelling the scores at 1-1. At the end of the 40 minutes, both teams entered the 8-second penalty shootout. Lae was up first and failed to score. Pom was successful in the first attempt, scoring to take the lead at 1-0. Lae managed to score, levelling the scores at 1-1. Pom furthered their lead, scoring their second goal. Lae failed in their third attempt to see them trailing 2-1. Pom succeeded in their third attempt to go on to a comfortable lead. The pressure was on as Lae only had 2 attempts left. Lae again failed in their fourth attempt. Pom scored another 2 penalties to beat former champions Lae 4-2 in the 8-second penalty shootout. The Pom women's team is now the 2018 hockey champions. Elijah Levet, National, EMTV Sports.
To Rugby League, and the Central Dabaris held a gala dinner recently to help raise funds for the club's bid to enter the PNG NRL competition next year. Central Dabaris chairman Keith Iduhu says he is overwhelmed with the support shown from the people of Central Province, with all tables sold out.
Well, I'm humbled. I'm just totally humbled with the overwhelming support of the province. We've had very prominent people of the Central Province. We've had our governor, we have our governor here tonight, and the support of Sir Pukatemu. He's taken out a large amount of tables. Member for Kairuku-Hiri, also Peter Iswaimo. The support of the member for Guilala, and the Minister Assistant the Prime Minister. And he's come in and supported the proposition for the Dabaris to enter the Digital Cup next year. This evening, so it's a real bonus.
You're watching Trukai Sports. We'll have more on the other side of these messages. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Turning overseas now, after a frustrating weekend for New Zealand sports fans, Scott Dixon has come to the rescue big time. He's driven into the record books in the final IndyCar race of the season.
Championship
number 5.
Equalling the legendary AJ Foyt, who achieved that feat 51 years ago.
Doesn't come, without a lot of hard work, and we had a lot of grit. We had a lot of things that could have gone wrong today.
Instead, it was his closest challenger, Alexander Rossi, who got it horribly wrong in the season-ending Sonoma Grand Prix. The California kid ran into his teammate Marco Andretti on the opening lap, shredding a tyre and dropping to 24th.
Wish I could replay that a million more times.
That meant the Iceman could play safe. Rather than push for a 4th Sonoma victory, Dixon was content to sit behind pole sitter Ryan Hunter-Reay for most of the 85 laps.
And his quest for a 5th title just got a whole lot better and easier.
Rossi provided the thrills as he charged back through the field. But a lap behind Dixon, he got too close for the Kiwi's comfort, so he let him go. Emma Dixon seemed more stressed than her husband. But she'd no need to be, as the 38-year-old was in cruise control, especially when Rossi's tyres tired and his gas ran low. While Hunter-Reay was first home, Dixon was the big winner.
Scott Dixon is a 5-time IndyCar champion.
It took 51 years, but Scott Dixon brings the championship here at Sonoma. Man, this is so awesome. I can't believe it. I can't believe that's actually happened.
Rivals quick to congratulate the Chip Ganassi team driver who won his first title 15 years ago.
He's like a champion off the track. He's obviously a champion with his family.
Daughters Poppy and Tilly making the celebrations even more special.
As New Zealand's golden run of rowing success comes to a shattering halt, is the questions being asked after their worst performance at the World Championships in almost 20 years, after some of those performances were way short of expectations.
Fighting back the tears, Liv Lowe and Brooke Donoghue were consoled by family after losing their double sculls world title.
We were definitely gutted. We came out to win.
Instead, the duo picked up silver. Not even their signature sprint finish could close the gap on the Lithuanians.
A few crews really jumped out on us and we worked incredibly hard through that middle to try and get it back. To be honest, it's not quite what we wanted, but we are happy with our race.
The men's double also lost their world title, picking up bronze.
A strong side, which made it a bit bobbly. Our plan was to come out and stay with the pack as much as we could and see if we could sprint through at the end. Maybe left a little bit too much to do with that last 500.
The final sprint earning them a medal, though, and a soft toy, perhaps for their first children, both due in January. Meanwhile, a disappointed Robbie Manson was contemplative as he came out of the water after what was probably New Zealand's most disappointing result of the day. The world best time holder and hot favourite coming 5th, while Norway took the title.
The water conditions in that inside of the course were less favourable and the wind was stronger, it was rougher as well, so it did affect his chances, no doubt about it.
The last time New Zealand left a World Champs without a world title was back in 2001. And to put things in perspective, this time 4 years ago, the same time in the Olympic cycle, New Zealand came away with 9 medals, 6 of them were gold.
It is disappointing, but we have been accused of peaking too early. Going into Rio, that was a problem for us. I think we're in a pretty good position right now with 8 A finalists, all in Olympic events.
The athletes, however, say there's work to do.
Go back home and work harder.
So that next year the Kiwi flag can take centre stage.
And that story wraps up True Kai Sports for this evening. We go for a break now. When we come back, there were the details for the next 24 hours.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Mostly fine for Daru. Light showers expected in Port Moresby. A few showers for Kerma, Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momasa region, some rain and showers expected in Lae and Wau. A shower or two for Madang, Riebeck and Vanimo. Across to the New Guinea Islands region, a shower or two in all the major centres. Lorangau, Keveng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, all centres can expect light showers this evening with morning fog and variable winds over the next 24 hours. There is a strong wind warning. Strong southeasterly winds of 20 to 34 knots with stronger gusts are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas. All small craft and boats are advised to take the necessary precaution before going out to sea. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Samurai Island, and with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, and waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitesse and Dampier Strait to CSE Island to Long Island, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo to the northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of New Island to East New Britain to Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. And waters of West New Britain, seas 2.5 to 3 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast. Coral Sea sees rough with southeasterly winds at 25 to 34 knots. Solomon Sea sees moderate to rough with southeasterly winds at 20 to 34 knots. Bismarck Sea sees rough with southeasterly winds at 25 to 34 knots. And the Pacific Ocean sees slight with southeast to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Monday the 17th of September 2018. If you have been following My Province, My Country 43 years on, tune in tonight at 8 p.m. for our final provincial focus on the Medang province. Until tomorrow, on behalf of the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.